studio jump.
Who am I? A woman? How do you gauge that? Is it because of what I'm wearing today? Is it because of my body structure? Is it because of the way I express myself? Who gives me this identity? When I was born, the doctors looked at me and said, hey, this is a female child. And thereafter, I was born and brought up. I was brought up and nurtured as a girl and as a woman by my family, my parents, the society at large. I love everything about being a woman. I love the way I look. I love everything that's feminine about me. I'm comfortable being a woman, and society accepts and nurtures me as a woman. But you know, in this very hall, it's possible that somebody was born a female like me, but has never liked being in that body, has never identified as a female. There could be somebody who was born a male and has hated everything masculine about themselves. This, my dear friends, is largely the transgender community. As per the 2011 census, there are 4.8 lakh transgender people in India. And this is a conservative estimate. It could be 10 times more, because when this census was done, trans men under the transgender umbrella were not even visible. In 2014, under the Nalsa judgment, transgender was legally recognized as a third gender in India. And in 2019, there came an act called the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act. Yet, how many of us really know who a transgender person is? What's the image that comes to you when you hear the word transgender? Most likely, somebody who's masculine, wearing a sari or a feminine attire, standing at a traffic signal and begging. Or a bunch of them coming for your auspicious occasions for Badhai and Toli. Or somebody soliciting sex work, right? To understand the transgender framework itself, we need to just go very quickly into the basics of sex, sexuality, and gender. Sex is basically what we are born with based on your genitalia. The doctors assign you a male or a female. So if you're born with a penis and testicles, you're a male, and if you have a vagina, you're a female. And if you have ambiguous genitalia, then you come under the intersex category. Gender roles are then prescribed by society as to who you are, like a feminine or a masculine based on the sex. Sexual orientation is whom do you feel attracted to emotionally and physically. And gender identity is what do I think and feel like. Do I identify with the sex that was assigned to me at birth and the gender roles that are prescribed thereafter? A transgender person is somebody who doesn't feel comfortable at all with the sex that was assigned to them at birth and definitely doesn't connect with the gender roles that are prescribed thereafter. A transgender child realizes at as young an age as 3 years that they do not feel comfortable. There's a sense of deep confusion as to what's happening with them. They know something is wrong, but there are no words to express what is happening. You know, initially they would try to cross-dress, and many of us also actually, you know, make our boy child dress like a girl also. It's fun, it's cute. But as the child grows older, and when they try to cross-dress at that point of time, family doesn't accept, society does not accept. How can a boy dress like a girl? Or vice versa. The child is going through their own confusion, fear, and when they're reprimanded by family members for not behaving as per the gender roles, it leads to a lot of guilt also. And that leads to feeling of depression, anxiety. When they hit puberty, the sense of gender dysphoria hits the maximum because all the major bodily changes are happening at that time. Many kids, unfortunately, attempt suicide. They ideate on suicide, and many, unfortunately, successfully also end their life. National Human Rights Commission report says that 99% of the transgender people have faced social rejection, especially from their own family members. Our homes are our safest space. That's a place where a child feels safe, and if that's a space where the family is not supporting, imagine how the child is feeling. Many leave homes just because of this. Only 2% live with their families. 50 to 60% have never attended schools or have dropped out of schools. Schools are where, like you said, everything starts with an idea. You nurture a child to think and feel and interact with people. But this is also, unfortunately, a place where a trans child is bullied a lot, is discriminated. There is lack of understanding for the child. I've heard many transgender children who will say that when in the school, especially when they go to the washroom, that's when they are bullied maximum. Some of them have got molested, raped, and they drop out of school. 18% have been physically abused and raped even by their own family members in a way to teach them a lesson to stick to the gender roles. 62% have been verbally abused by classmates. So many of us here unconsciously may have cracked transphobic jokes. We may have used slangs like chakka, mamu, etc. without realizing that somebody in our environment is from the transgender community. 15% have been harassed by their own teachers. Kids have gone to the teachers and asked them and complained that, my classmate is bullying me and teasing me. And the teacher have said that if you behave like this, this is what is going to happen. This lack of understanding, again, leads to children dropping out of education. As a result, it's difficult for them to get a job when they grow up. 96% have been denied jobs, and they pick up, even if they are educated, they don't get jobs suiting their graduation or any other qualification that they've got. So they pick up menial jobs like begging and sex work. Also driven by this keen interest to go through a sex reassignment surgery. This is medically possible. So somebody who's born a male can actually get a surgery, get breasts, they can remove their testicles, penis, create a vaginal pathway. All of this is medically possible. But it costs a lot of money, and it is also not all doctors are qualified. So you'll find good doctors only in the metro cities. So large number of transgender people focus on how do I make this money? And begging and sex work is something they feel is going to help them make that money. Majority don't have documents because they've run away from home, so nobody thinks I have to take my school leaving certificate or my passport or anything like that. That thought doesn't come because they're running away in a desperate situation. So no documents, therefore no jobs, no accommodation, whole lot of other social issues continue to plague them. When we talk of transgender people, we think about hijra people, which is what we have seen. Hijra is a social structure. So they have a Guru Chela Parampara. We have many others like Jokti, Jogappa, etc. I didn't know so much about transgender people, frankly, till 2016 when a client of mine actually asked me to hire a postgraduate in HR who's transgender. I didn't even know such a person existed. That's when I just decided, yes, I'm going to make this happen. And I started educating myself. I met doctors, I met psychiatrists, psychologists, researchers to understand what is this community. What do I call them? What are like names, pronouns, whole lot of other things. A whole world opened up for me. I met Alpana Dange. She's a researcher. She was working on transgender issues. And she took me for my very first queer film festival. This is the largest that happens in India and Asia. Very memorable occasion for me because this was the first time in my life that I saw a movie solo, and that too in a hall full of men who had no interest in me. They were all gay men, gay couples. But together, we watched a beautiful movie in Kannada about the transgender person's life called I'm Not He, I'm She. This is also where I met Abhina Aher. She's a national level transgender activist. Today, she's a dear friend and almost like a sister. In fact, I told her I'm doing this TED talk, and I told her I'm wearing a blue sari. She said, why don't you wear a pink blouse? Because blue and pink is a transgender color, and so here I am in this colorful attire. Abhina and I have a beautiful journey. I was told when I met her that if she likes you or if she connects with you, she will help you understand the community better. Fortunately, we clicked. From there, we met again at a cafe coffee day near my house. Again, a memorable meeting because at the end of the meeting, when we were getting up to leave, the cashier came up to us and said, thank you, ma'ams. Look forward to seeing you again. I saw the expression on Abhina's face. There was a sense of pride, she was like surprised that a stranger was accepting her for who she is. At that moment, I realized the power of being an ally. Here I was interacting with her just like I would with anybody else, like a regular meeting. And that normalcy conveyed a strong message to my environment, and people reacted exactly the same way. So I decided that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a social change. I started little by little, small things. Hijra women are intrinsically attracted towards artistic things. They're good with mehendi, self-taught. I would call them home for Karwa Chauth, invite women, get mehendi put. What started from my house moved into other houses also. Other friends started inviting me. They would arrange lunch and we would sit together, share meal, exchange stories. Women of all age groups would come for this occasion. There are transgender people who come home and share meal with me and my family. On my milestone birthday, my husband reached out to a few of them, and as a part of a surprise video they put together, many of them sent messages wishing me and sharing some memorable occasion that they have with me. Seeing this, a class 11 student of an international school organized an event in her school, a run to raise funds for the transgender people and also to sensitize her teachers and the classmates. In 2014, Tweet Foundation, which is an NGO for and by transgender people, was set up. In 2018, seeing the work that I was doing for the community, I was invited to come on board as their advisor to the board of directors. A huge changing moment, because with Tweet, we started doing a lot of work, mostly with corporates, sensitizing them, talking to companies, seeing how do we create employment opportunities, how do we bridge the gap between qualification and what are the job openings which are there. As we started doing more and more work, unfortunately, the lockdown hit us. And overnight, especially the Hijra women, they were without salary, without even basic sustenance. While the government was busy looking at other marginalized community, unfortunately, this visibly invisible community remained invisible till a lot of activism started. I tapped all the networks that were available, and many people came forward to help. Personally, through foundations, so we raised ration kits, PPE kits. I'm a trained counselor, provided mental counseling. Our support slowly from Mumbai reached out to many, including Pune, and many other cities, including Dinajpur, which is like on the border of India and Bangladesh. Last year, we conducted vaccination drive, and 200 people were double vaccinated. This is a small number, but we at least made a beginning somewhere. This also made us realize that, I was tapping only into people who knew about the work, with whom I would socially connect. We realized that we could do a movement of generating more allies. And that's when, with Tweet Foundation, I launched this webinar series called Transis. We started with a weekly session and then moved on to a monthly webinar, where we would cover various aspects of transgender lives. What is a transgender person? What is their life like? What are their challenges? What are their celebratory moments? Who are some of the successful transgender people? What is their family life? What is parenting? What is love for them? What is relationship? So many aspects which actually looked at transgender people as difficult life journey, as well as many things which are just like all of us. This led to a lot of companies calling us to conduct programs for them. In last year, the Ministry of Social Justice and National Institute of Social Defense granted Tweet Foundation the rights to start a shelter home in Mumbai. There are 12 such shelter homes across the country. Here was a safe space that was available for transgender people who had run away from homes. We started focusing on, we had a captive audience, so we started focusing on skill building, career readiness, etc. for the transgender people. And that led us to doing more corporate sensitization. Online virtual medium was very convenient to reach out to lots of companies. We've done close to 100 sessions in just the last 1.5 years. We started placing people in companies. Surprisingly, the pandemic created open more doors within the companies. We were personally going, even during the lockdown, wherever people were working with their open offices, we were going there and conducting sensitization programs, hiring support, and most important is hand-holding transgender people who are transitioning into a corporate organized life because they have never seen a corporate life. Similarly, corporates were also bringing in transgender people for the very first time. So it was important to sensitize them also on how do they interact, how do you build relationships. Last year, towards the end of last year, Tata Steel opened opportunities for 14 transgender people in West Bokaro, their coal mine, to operate heavy earth moving machinery. I have to tell you that we were there to conduct sensitization programs right from senior level management to the transgender people itself. And just last month, I heard that they are so well integrated that when people have family birthdays, pujas, etc., these transgender people are invited just like all of us here. While there are a lot of struggles, there are also lots of success stories also. Rishik Thakkar is a postgraduate in Hindustani classical music and an absolutely fabulous singer. I was talking to Ekam earlier, rather Ekam came up to me and said that I want to do a fusion with him and I'm going to create a song because I want to make that difference. Zoya Lobo is a first transgender photojournalist. Those of you who are in Mumbai, on Marine Drive, Dr. Bakshi, please, next picture, you must capture this. She's featured on Google on a hoarding near Haji Ali. Acharya Mahamandaleshwar Lakshminarayan Tripathi, I think everybody knows she's a very strong national figure. She also heads the national portal for transgender people. There are many, many other transgender people who are breaking boundaries in the field of medicine, science, and many other areas. 2 weeks back, I was invited to conduct a visioning exercise for transgender men, trans men. It was the first ever national trans men and trans masculine meet. I was a minority in that group of 70 men. And trust me, I didn't feel like a minority. They gave me so much respect, so much warmth, so much love. They made sure I was a part of all their photos and every other activity that they did. And it made me realize, why is it so difficult for us? You know, when outside that room, we are the majority. I don't see one trans person in this room. Why is it so difficult for us to accept? Here are a people, community which has gone through so much of difficulty and they are open, waiting for us to embrace them. I hope my talk here, what I have shared with you, has sparked a hope, a seed of empathy and compassion for our transgender people. I hope it sparked a seed of an idea to generate employment, those of you who can create that, to educate transgender people. There are lots of them here in Nasik itself. I hope there is some shift which is going to happen. When Ekam shared with me that he wants to create a rap on this issue, my heart really melted and I felt, okay, I've already made a change. I hope I see many more here in this group. Thank you so much.